Well, millions here in the U.S. saw a second day of severe weather. Violent wind tore roofs from homes and snapped trees in Kentucky, in Tennessee, and in Indiana. And at least 10 people were hurt. There were a dozen reports of tornadoes touching down in Alabama all the way to Ohio. Dave Malkoff is in Sunbright, Tennessee, which was hammered by suspected tornado. Dave, good morning. I guess we can't confirm it, but based on the damage, the suspicion is high.
Yeah, they can see it on the radar, but they have to send out actual surveyors from the National Weather Service to look at this damage. And look at it, Anne-Marie. This car right here was crushed when this building came apart and just crushed it with these bricks here. This is the Hamby's car. You can see they have two car seats in here. They have little kids. Put a pin in that. We will tell you that story in just a bit. But we got to widen this out and show you how this is not just one city devastated by a tornado, and it is devastating. This is the entire country getting hit by bad weather.
Holy.
Destructive and powerful winds barreled through parts of West Virginia Tuesday, including downtown Charleston, and to the west in Hanging Rock, Ohio.
Campers on their side. Oh, dear Lord.
Violent winds decimated this RV park.
This literally took 15 seconds.
Those violent storms hammered a dozen states Tuesday, tearing neighborhoods to shreds. At the University of Kentucky in Lexington, the winds were so extreme, this student was knocked off his feet.
At 5:17, our first outdoor warning sirens went off across the city.
Violent storms around Louisville left behind so much damage, the area now has a huge cleanup project to tackle.
I will be declaring a state of emergency for the entire Jefferson County.
The high winds not just causing damage to homes and businesses, but also mayhem on the roads from Louisville to Jeffersonville, Indiana, where big rigs proved no match for the winds, where this driver was fortunately able to escape. Back here in Tennessee, residents in Sunbright were shocked to see the wreckage left behind.
Well, it's just a gut punch to see your town and see these old buildings just demolished.
The tornado likely struck just after 5:15 p.m., leaving the local funeral home in ruins, and the owner stunned.
I really didn't think a whole lot about it. I was really surprised when I got up here and seen all this damage.
And that funeral home is actually just on the other side of this building. This is a very small town, just about 500 people. I did talk to the National Weather Service this morning, and I wanted to know what was the difference in time between when they put out the tornado warning and they actually had a tornado on the ground here. He was able to look at the radar and see the debris ball. You can see all this debris on radar. And by calculating those two times, they figured that they had about 15 to 20 minutes worth of warning time. That's more than the average. And Anne-Marie, I'm sure that saved lives here.
Yeah, that has got to have made a difference. Listen, Dave, as you know, the storm has passed, but that doesn't mean the danger is over. What are the biggest concerns for people waking up in Tennessee this morning?
Anne-Marie, look at this right here. This is a wood, and it's got a rusty nail on there. That's just the minimal amount of danger that you have when you walk around. Actually, after a storm, that's when most of the injuries happen, because people will not even see these power lines. They'll get their feet caught up in that. They'll walk through glass. They'll walk through this debris here, and they'll get injured. And that is what happens after a storm. Now we have this storm pushing off into Boston, and we could have snow, we could have flooding, we could have high winds there as well.
All I remember about stepping on a rusty nail is I think it's a tetanus shot, right? Something like that.
Oh, yes, you do not want that. No.
No.
And I was going to mention about the family who actually owns both of these cars, and they live in an apartment that no longer exists that was up here.
Wow.
That's the Hamby family. And Emery, they heard the warning. They went outside to see what was going on. And in that time, this debris, he was actually telling me that it was swirling around his feet. His wife was holding their infant child in her arms. while the tornado was pulling her away, the pressure of the tornado was pulling her away, he was holding his 4-year-old, and she was wearing a hoodie. If she hadn't been wearing the hoodie, she would have blown away in this tornado. He was able to grab the hoodie and pull her down while all this was swirling around. They've got cuts and bruises all around their legs. They were trying to get to this little hole underneath the house over there. That is the only tornado shelter that they have.
Dave, that is an incredible story. I mean, I could see it. I could visualize it. I can't imagine the panic of trying to hang on to your family in the middle of nature's wrath. Dave, thank you so much. So the storm that caused this damage in Tennessee, well, it's impacting the East Coast now, with residents facing the threat of rising waters and damaging wind. Tony Sadiku from CBS New York is in Freeport, Long Island. Ooh, right by the water. The winds must be whipping there, and that's an area that's prone to flooding. Tony, tell us more about the conditions there today.
Yeah, good morning, Anne-Marie. No doubt. I mean, you could hear the winds now. We can certainly feel them. We've been feeling them all morning, and these gusts at times 40+ miles per hour. I see my photographer Walter Relli here. I mean, the camera just shook, and you're like trying to tether it to the ground. We've got sandbags. Everything we're doing to try to keep, try to stay safe in these strong winds. And the other thing you can see too is just how fast the wind is pushing the water here. I mean, think about it. These winds are only getting stronger during the day today. 50, 60 miles per hour gusts expected. We've got high wind warnings in effect for this area, and coastal flooding, a big concern for the possibility of inundation 2 to 3 feet above ground level. That means where I'm standing right now, it's an area that's prone to flooding. It's going to be underwater by this afternoon's high tide, overnight high tide. Those are the two times we're watching especially. So right now we're actually at low tide. Walter, I don't know if you can see it, but this is normally, you kind of get the idea of where the water levels are right now. But by this afternoon, we can expect the water levels to be much, much higher, which means folks who live in this area will need to be on heightened alert for inundation in some of these streets. Anne-Marie, will send it back to you.
Man, that low tide does not look very low to me. So, yeah, high tide plus the wind plus the rain. It's going to be a soggy one out there. Tony, thank you so much.